Hello. Today I am going to start off by showing a clip from the previous video because it really symbolizes how most people feel about these films. Now, if I were to review the newer movie, with or without insulting people, I know very well that I'll end up getting backlash anyway. So either way, it's a lose-lose situation. Or I could just keep my mouth shut, but that's not gonna happen. So, if this is the way it has to be, then so be it. Mario movie defenders are entitled pricks with their heads up their asses.
Eat shit.
What?
How's that?
No.
In fact,
Do not use that word in front of my son.
eat shit.
If I
Eat
wasn't
shit.
practicing,
Eat shit.
I would
Don't
slap
talk
that
to your
smug
mother.
smile.
Definitely
right
eat shit.
across your
Eat
face.
shit. You can all eat shit.
It's amazing, because the Super Mario Galaxy movie really does feel like a video game at some points. Because the characters don't feel like characters in a story. They're toys, tools, archetypes that the audience could move around with their Joy-Cons. Except the catch is, there is no controller, because this isn't a video game, it's a movie. And yet it barely functions like a movie, and feels more like a commercial for future theme park expansions at Epic Universe. Therefore, I hereby am calling this movie an experience, because it really exemplifies Scorsese's critiques of superhero films more than actual superhero films. And apparently, most of the internet was not so enthusiastic about this experience this time around. It's true when they say there's no real plot, no real character development, and the pacing is much worse than last time. So yes, those gosh darn out-of-touch critics have every right to be upset this time around. I'll cut the first film some slack, at least it had structure and some semblance of a plot, even if everything turned out shallow in the end. This experience, however, trots through set piece, basically skimming through 5 different standalone movies worth of good material. Come on, Miyamoto. Your pal Chris-san would want these movies to go on forever. After all, Minions and Mario are the only profitable franchises that are keeping his company afloat in this current climate. So why are you wasting all your precious resources like that? Shame on you. So yeah, those new DCEU comments I made towards the first movie are now starting to hold more water. In fact, it almost makes me want to apologize for giving GOAT a bad rep, because it at least tries to tell a decent story, and Sony has proven themselves to be serious business in the animation. Shut up, critic guy! Who cares what you think? The Prowler music is playing, and it definitely means that this movie is more serious than you give it credit for. The fans win again! Wait, the Prowler music? From Into the Spider-Verse? Say, that's not part of the Super Mario Bros. Music library. The marketing team at Illumination should really be ashamed of themselves. Hey, if Illumination can be repetitive in cramming 5 different games into one experience, I can be repetitive with the jokes I made towards the previous movie. Speaking of which, yeah, just like the games. I so called it when I said that this experience wouldn't be a proper adaptation of the first Super Mario Galaxy, as the only correlation it had to that game is the theming, the music, and the moment the castle gets lifted into the sky. And I at least thought this experience would give audiences the bare minimum in terms of plot. But it turns out we got barely minimum. I would encourage you to check out the previous video I made before Galaxy's release, where I made some pretty wild guesses as to what happens. And I was definitely on the money when I said that Rosalina would be completely sidelined for the majority of this experience. Yeah, I was totally right when I said that all of her iconic moments would be at the beginning, and for the remainder of this experience, she'd be taken hostage by Bowser Jr., the future heir to the Koopa throne, even though she clearly had a chance to escape beforehand with her magic. On one hand, I didn't really mind it that much. Because, if I'm being honest, Rosalina didn't have much to do in the original game either. But on the other hand, this is coming after the first movie was able to give Peach much more independence and security. Also, It is pretty hilarious how Brie Larson went from playing a cosmic superheroine who has all the power and is a total girl boss, to a cosmic princess who has all the power literally drained from her and is relegated to bimbo status. But hey, you gotta win back the incels somehow.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time.
I never have asked for any of the Super Mario games to have like super deep story. Like that's not what they were built on. It's like you have tasks and you're, it's like save the princess, defeat Bowser, and like the simplicity is what works.
I want to know what that film meant to women of color, to biracial women, to teen women of color, to teens that are biracial.
What these movies do is they allow you to expand and like fill in the gaps of these concepts. So like all the games are richer because you understand all of these interpersonal relationships and how things can connect.
And for the third time, I don't hate white dudes. These are just facts. These are not my feelings. And I'm really sorry, Lindsay. Please don't kill me.
I can't even imagine what it's like to write these movies. I would be having the best time.
I'm guessing she's a huge fan of the live-action remakes. And while there is no return the baby to its mommy plotline, one of the Lumas does approach Peach to embark on this adventure. Yeah, it's basically Peach's film from now on. Did the filmmakers do anything to expand upon her personality from the first movie? Nope, she's still bland. But we do learn something that goes against MatPat's original theory of the games. But why bother theorizing when this is its own continuity? And I'm not going to bother hiding any spoilers, so I'm just going to reiterate by saying, yeah, it's also pretty amazing how Rosalina has a storybook that knows everything about Peach and the Mushroom Kingdom, yet puts no effort in actually finding her long-lost sister. Oh yeah, by the way, Peach is now Elsa from Frozen. Sorry not sorry. But what about the Mario brothers? Yeah, it's safe to say that they're both sidelined as well. I mean, they are looking after the kingdom at some point. But then in the next few moments, they want to join Peach on her journey. There might be some sprinkling of Mario wanting to tell Peach how much he feels about her, but who cares about that? Look, it's Yoshi! I originally thought they were going to do something generic, like have Luigi become jealous of Mario doing everything with the Air Jordans wearing Thunder Lizard. But nope, they just find him and now he's part of the group.
So some dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group. Cool.
He does a few things helpful, but to be frank, Yoshi is just there for cuddles and shit. I predicted that the brothers would be on the run from Bowser Jr., who wants to return his father to normal size so they can rule the galaxy together. Well, they were, but only for a short period. He has the plan to use Rosalina's power to basically build the Death Star and destroy every other galaxy so that his newly formed Koopa planet is the only one standing. This was based on a bedtime story that Bowser used to tell him every night. You want to know something? Scenes with Bowser and his son were the closest to being the most genuine character building moments in the entirety of this experience. Bowser also has an arc, if you could call it that, where he tries to convince Mario that he's a changed Koopa and wants to earn his trust as a friend. Oh sure, trust a giant snapping turtle who tried to boil thousands of the Mushroom Kingdom's citizens and your brother in blazing hot lava. Yup, Bowser has grown a soft side for the brothers, which conflicts with his son's plans for total annihilation. And for a second, this experience makes you think Bowser has changed. But then, psych, he immediately reverts back to his status quo in order to make his son proud. I will give the film credit for not sticking with cliches this time around, because that's the real game here. This experience sets up an interesting concept, then immediately drops it for what it really wants to showcase. Speaking of which, remember how the real world and the Mushroom Kingdom merged into one in the last movie? As I suspected, this experience completely retconned that event. And it looks like New York and Fungus Town are two separate locations once more. And I mean, it would have been really fun to explore the consequences of that fateful "oh look, it's Fox McCloud!" You know, from that one Nintendo franchise that failed to blast off multiple times? This movie decided to give him a much more prominent role than Rosalina. You know, one of the actual main characters from Super Mario Galaxy. Don't think of this as a slap to the face. Miyamoto has been doing us fans a favor after all these years. I also might have been the first person to ever make the comparison to the Lego Movie. A film with a truckload of references, but also contains well-written characters and a heartfelt message at its core. This experience, on the other hand, is on constant autopilot. I wouldn't mind the action scenes all that much, but because the characters are so thinly written, these scenes feel so empty to me. Talk about a waste of space. It's essentially more of the same. Emphasis on more. More characters, more references, all those sweet, ooh shiny Easter eggs. While they are fun to spot, they also feel very shoehorned and mandated. And they contribute absolutely nothing other than to make fans say, OMG, Bowser just said a thing I recognized! This movie is automatically a cinematic masterpiece! Most notably, the sequence at the casino from Super Mario Sunshine and at Fossil Falls, the prehistoric kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey. On one hand, I believe the casino scene could be tweaked a bit. Perhaps Peach and Toad are low on coins, and they need a certain amount of money or a certain currency in order to rent a spaceship. And so the monkey steals their bag, leading them to the casino. And they are forced to play some games, earning cash in the process. You could also sprinkle Fox in there as a nod to Han Solo, and even hint at Peach having cosmic powers early on, as she's fending off against Wart and his posse. The scene at Fossil Falls is just an excuse to show the Mario Brothers in their diapers, because Miyamoto really wants you to know that they exist, even though Luigi's flashback from the first movie was just enough. It's entirely pointless, and could have been cut entirely, and nothing would change. But anyway, it very much exemplifies the idea of vibes over substance. And it's funny because the directors of these movies are also the developers behind Teen Titans Go on Cartoon Network. What's ironic is that they even have an episode called Nostalgia is not a substitute for an actual story. And even though they weren't the screenwriters, I would have preferred that they actually leaned more heavily on the mean-spirited humor of that show, especially seen in the crossover episode with Thundercats. Thank you, Teen Titans. You showed me that these new Mario movies are just painfully average, and anyone who considers them pure cinema is a Koopa-faced buttwort. Thundercats? Ho! So yes, while I didn't enjoy this experience, I will say that it's far from the worst thing I've seen. The voice acting is still fine as usual. Not great, but it could have been worse. However, Jack Black continues to nail it as Bowser. Benny Safdie is also a great standout as his son. But I wouldn't be lying if I said that Glenn Powell gives a completely spot-on performance of Fox. Also, I forgot to do this in my review of the first movie, so I would like to give a shout out to the voice of Kamek, because it's very vocally distinct from any other role he's taken. The animation is as colorful, vibrant, and beautifully textured as usual. However, it's going to take more than just a truckload of references and flashy animated action to persuade me. At the end of the day, these movies are exactly that, painfully average. So why did I sound so intense in this video? Well, that's because I know for a fact that what I say won't matter in the end. This movie is guaranteed to give Mario another billion-dollar paycheck, and it probably already has. And while this film has its set of detractors, people are still willing to defend it. And if I had a nickel for every time I heard the excuses, it's a kids movie, or the Mario games don't need to have a story, I swear, I would use that money to head to the nearest convention center just so I could holler.
Guess what, fandom? Your favorite online reviewers have been bullshitting you all these years. They don't care about good storytelling. As a matter of fact, they don't think children deserve good, compelling stories at all.
But perhaps the shills are right. Storytelling might as well be the most overrated topic of contention on the wide web. And you know what? I'm just going to bring up the same point I made in my GOAT review, just so I can rub it in your pretty little faces. You all got mad at Disney over nothing. Yeah, forget all the controversies they encountered over the years for a moment. That was just more fuel for the fire. I find it real silly that people still believe that Disney was built on great storytelling, when in reality, they're better known for providing outstanding entertainment the entire family can enjoy. Audiences wanting good stories my ass. If the Mario movies have shown us anything, it's that audiences are perfectly fine with shallow characters and plot lines. They're fine with movies being blatant advertisements for other media or being completely empty. And it furthers the point I made before in my video about original films. This whole demand for good original storytelling is all just noise. A big fat sack of nothing made up by these so-called fans of cinema. A load of fake news being repeated by hundreds, if not thousands, of these termites. And you know what? Disney had every right to greenlight more sequels and remakes. At least those films are rooted in nostalgia and are guaranteed to get asses in seats. The people who are complaining about the remakes are just mad that they barely resemble the originals. They don't care about improving movies for the better of the story or to ensure box office potential. They just want to relive the days of their youth, when movies were super rockin' fantastic in their eyes. And nostalgia is what really drives the box office these days. Not quality, not originality, familiarity. That's why the Super Mario Galaxy movie is making bank, because it's Mario. You see, Disney, your lack of story and character depth isn't the problem. They just need to be more meme-worthy for TikTok reels. And other than that, the fans just want to see more action porn in their animated films. Okay, let me slow down my "we were all wrong about Disney" rant. To you people who are unsatisfied with what Hollywood is producing, don't take this the wrong way. I don't mean to be a brute to you people. I'm just here to show you that you aren't the center of the universe. You don't own this platform. And if history has shown us anything, you folks clearly don't own the narrative either. You're just screaming into the void. Blame the studios all you want for not advertising their newer releases. I hate to break it to you, but from what I've seen, the audiences are just as much to blame for Hollywood producing more misfires as well. Most of you had the chance to critique these movies once before, and you squandered it, because you were too busy waiting for Disney to disappoint you again, just so you could put these movies on a pedestal. But seriously, you folks all thought that Illumination of all studios would be capable of improving their own storytelling? You all gave Disney so much crap for not putting out anything original, and yet you once gave Illumination a pass for hardly even trying. And now here we are, with a letdown of a sequel that barely functions as a movie. It's like I said, not every person watches movies to become the next Spielberg or Tolkien. Contrary to popular internet theory, audiences could honestly care less. Audiences love to eat shit. And that is just sad. Nintendo and Illumination can continue to swim in the pool of gold coins all they want. However, they should be aware that not everybody is on their side this time, especially after recent events put them under major scrutiny. And to those who ended up enjoying this movie, thank you for proving to me once again that you don't need to have a compelling relatable story to make it all the way to the bank. It was never about having good writing. It was always about satisfying the masses. If people really want studios to change their ways, the attitudes of everyone, including the general public and the terminally online, need to change as well. And then hopefully one day, I won't have to look at films like this under a large microscope. But that, of course, is indeed light years away. I hope you all found this video to be of your intrigue. I'm sorry it had to be this way. But I just want to let you know, it's more than just rage bait. It's truth-seeking. Thanks for watching, and remember, out of all the nastiest things said on the internet, my opinion matters most. This is your casual Canadian critic, signing off.